This production of Macbeth is an independent production with the wonderful support of Josephine Sculpture Park. About 18 months ago, I went to the park and for their opening weekend, and as I walked through the opening into the park, I saw what I now know is called the Crucible, and my very visceral response was, I needed to do a production of Macbeth around this sculpture one day. And I knew the owner of the park because she's on the Kentucky Arts Council roster as a teaching artist, as am I. And so I said, I have an idea to pitch to you. Let's go talk. And we went and talked, and she said, Josephine usually does at least one big event a year. Let's make Macbeth the event for this year. Well, when we first started talking about how to do it and why to do it, I realized that the majority of the artistic collaborators that I wanted to work with, choreographers, designers, etc., were women. And so at that point, it became logical to approach the Kentucky Foundation for Women for support in terms of giving women artists the opportunity to come together and create this vision and work together and put the show together at that level. And then as I was thinking along those lines and thinking about some of the themes in the play that I wanted to explore, one of which is the liminality of women, and over the centuries how they are frequently on the edges of society. And while there are very few female characters in Macbeth, arguably the three weird sisters are on the edges of society, and Lady Macbeth, because of some of her actions and opinions, is also on the edge of society. And so as I started to begin to think about that, I became more and more aware that throughout the script, whether it is a male character speaking or a female character speaking, there are all of these assumptions about what it is to be a man and what it is to be a woman. Probably the one that will spring to most people's minds is Lady Macbeth saying, "Unsex me now." Macduff, when he learns of the murder of his wife and babes, is essentially told, hey, be a man, take revenge. So there are all these references throughout that ask us to think about what our social construct is of how we should behave as a man, how we should behave as a woman. And so as I began thinking about the actors that I have worked with and like to work with within the context of what was already a female-centric vision, and some of the women who had expressed interest in auditioning, I was like, you know, I think I could do this with all women. And I went back to the script and I read it some more, and then I thought, I've always wanted to do an all-female Shakespeare, not necessarily Macbeth, but it's feeling like it's meant to be. And so I just took the plunge, and here we are. There is a lot of double casting, and some of it is pretty intentional. And frequently when you see Shakespearean shows done today, there is a lot of double casting. You know, for example, the three weird sisters are frequently double cast as the three murderers. Clearly I haven't done that in this particular production because I'm not interested in making that traditional connection. But yes, most people are playing 2 or 3 roles. I have conflated a couple of the Scottish nobility. So instead of there being 2 people, there's 1 person. And I've done that a couple of times, but not as much as I thought I would have to, which was rather good. And then there are a couple of our younger cast members who play almost all of the servants and messengers rather than making them individual and discrete characters. So I thought about how it made sense to double cast and cut maybe 3 or 4 characters. And while I have done some text cuts, rarely was the cut done because I was making a double or triple casting decision. It had more to do with the story that I wanted to tell. I'm not specifically setting this in the historical Scotland that Shakespeare purported to set it in. So we're making it a much more universal early history type play so that we can reference several cultural norms with regard to women. And one of the things we've done is, and as you've noticed as we've been talking, I've been talking about the Weird Sisters and not calling those characters by any other name. And we are using a version of the text that has the Hecate scenes in as well. And depending on which tradition you look at, Hecate brings her own sense of force and mystery into the story anyway. So one of the ideas that we are pursuing is that the world of the Weird Sisters is the normative world. And if you actually read what they first tell Macbeth, they hail him as these things. They do not tell him that he will become, or how to get there, or what to do to get there. They merely lay out that this is what is and what will be. So from that point of view, we're exploring what it is that Macbeth and Lady Macbeth do to make the prophecies come about. And so then in the middle of the play, when he comes back and says, okay, I really need to know what's going to happen now because all of these prophecies have come true, exploring the idea that because Macbeth took action that was not necessarily honorable action to force the prophecies into being, that his fate is now maybe not what it would have been if the prophecies had come into fullness a different way. So really taking the agency of the wickedness, the evilness away from the world of nature, the world of the Weird Sisters, and looking at it from the point of view, what is it that what is it that humanity has within itself, that once we are faced with a prospect that is alluring, what do we do? When you start looking at it from that point of view, Banquo's speech about, well, they said this to him, but they said this to me, we get the sense that Banquo, who is frequently played as a much more sympathetic and a much more honorable character, that there is temptation there, and maybe what happens is that Macbeth is just the one who moves a little quicker, and what would have happened had Banquo. And then again, with the Macduff storyline, again, he is usually portrayed as the noble one who is fighting for his country, and then when you put it into a woman-centric vision, what does it mean for a man who is faithful to his country to leave his wife and family at a time of war, and clearly the worst happens to them. So we're not, I hope, we're not sort of forcing the text in a way that it doesn't go, but we're looking at what the text gives us and saying, from a woman's point of view, how does this change the way that we might otherwise look at these words? I'm really hoping that people who come to see the show will ask the same questions that we've been asking and find their own answers. Macbeth is at Josephine Sculpture Park in Frankfurt. It's on Old Lawrenceburg Road, just south of the 53 exit along I-64. It's maybe 2 minutes away from the interstate, so it's very, very easy to get to. We are pre-selling tickets at both Completely Kentucky in downtown Frankfurt and also at Wilson Nurseries. Tickets are $10. The curtain time is 8 o'clock so that we can take advantage of the naturally setting sun, and at the time when we think that it might be getting a little dark, we'll light torches and flares so that will be natural illumination. We're inviting people to come early, to come at 7. There is a catering option for a picnic supper. There are over 20 sculptures, including the one around which we are doing this production, in the park, so there's a lot of opportunity to see great art. Josephine's mission is where art meets the earth, and these sculptures are amazing examples of that. So we're hoping that people will come, bring a blanket, bring your chairs, be comfortable, and take a wild ride with Macbeth in a sculpture park. Production dates are June 10, 11, and 12.